All right. Okay. Bingo, bango, bongo. Georgia Milne, legal counsel of Payhound. Welcome to the Spotlight episode today. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Thank you, Pierre, for having me here today.
Great to have you here, Georgia. And we had a really fascinating, interesting conversation around crypto regulation in Europe, and obviously Malta being the pioneer in this landscape. Interestingly enough, now obviously MiCA is coming into force, and
Yes.
interesting things happening on that front. So I'm really excited to have this conversation to you today and kind of like navigating through crypto frameworks in iGaming. Many operators, affiliates are keen to transact in crypto, but maybe a bit nervous from time to time. So my first question to you, Georgia, is what are the main kind of challenges that make operators hesitate to adopt crypto today?
I think the first hesitation comes from compliance. So operators worry a lot about AML and KYC. iGaming is a very heavily scrutinized sector, and regulators want to know exactly who is behind every transaction. Another challenge would be the fragmentation there is right now, which is navigating different frameworks in different countries in Europe. And lastly, I think banking. Many banks are still very reluctant to accepting proceeds from crypto. They want assurance that flows are clean and well controlled, and not many banks will accept these kinds of transactions. Now, the benefits of having like you were saying, a regulation jurisdiction like Malta behind this is that Malta tackled this very, very early. Okay, so it has the answers for absolutely everything. We have a very robust AML framework for crypto asset service providers. We have now with MiCA coming into place, now there's going to be only one EU wide legal framework. So what Malta did with the VFA framework was create answers to all these questions and give peace of mind to both operators, banking partners, and the overall industry that things are under control.
Brilliant. And as you say, the first time, every time we do a due diligence with our bank on a yearly basis or with our CSP, there's always that really scary checkbox. Do you own crypto? Yes or no?
Yes.
And it's that's a scary checkbox to tick, And so you mentioned as well, Georgia, that Malta was an early mover in the crypto or regulatory framework space with the VFA Act, so the Virtual Financial Assets framework that came in 2018.
Yes.
Right, so it was the world's first crypto regulatory framework, and that drew a lot of really big companies into Malta really early. And obviously this was like around the time where Payhound also kind of took advantage of the fact that Malta had set up this framework. And how did the VFA framework help shape how Payhound operates today?
Yes, so Malta really gave us a really big head start in all of this. Malta created a comprehensive framework that was the first one in the world to create a clear licensing, governance, and AML requirements for crypto asset service providers. This provided the jurisdiction with years of regulatory experience ahead, even before the European Union even started thinking about regulating this industry.
Brilliant. And so Payhound is obviously licensed under the VFA Act. And what do you feel this means in practical terms for operators and affiliate clients of yours?
So in practice, I think it means peace of mind. So Payhound is regulated by the MFSA, which is the same regulator that supervises banks and investment services and financial services. This means like we have very strong controls on governance, liquidity, we have ongoing reporting. Client safeguarding is part of our daily operations. For operators and affiliates, this is translated in a trusted partner that you can integrate crypto payments, knowing the framework has already been vetted by a top tier authority.
Brilliant. So obviously in 2018 the VFA Act was launched here in Malta that brought this regulatory clearance to people within this space. Now, MiCA is somewhat replacing the VFA framework, right? Where now instead of a local regulated license here in Malta, we have a framework for the entire European Union in MiCA. So how will MiCA now change the way crypto can be used in iGaming across Europe?
So MiCA is a very big game changer. We have, instead of having a patchwork of national rules and regulations and like a rule here and there, we have a unified EU legal framework directly applicable throughout all the EU member states. This is huge for both crypto providers and iGaming industry because operators can rely consistently on a framework across Europe. While the VFA Act was a first of its time, it was still imposed a lot of like regulatory uncertainty across for gaming operators because they did not know if their trusted provider was going to be able to provide the same services in another EU member state. So MiCA, what will bring is not only a unified regulatory framework, but so for gaming operators, their trusted service provider will be able to passport its services to any member state. So they can use their trusted service provider for any member state and without having to engage a third party, without handling different fees from different jurisdictions, which is a very, very big plus.
Brilliant. And how does Payhound handle AML and KYC requirements to keep crypto transactions safe and transparent?
So, being a regulated entity, we classify as a subject person under the PMLA and the PLMFTR, which are the two AML national frameworks. And therefore, our AML and KYC processes are built in line with the legislative framework and in Malta's FIU implementing procedures and standards. So we have a robust suite of AML policies and procedures as is mandated in law. Every client is screened, every transaction is screened. We have blockchain analytics, which flags transactions that may seem suspicious, that come from maybe flagged addresses, that should give our clients a peace of mind when it comes to their own AML obligations.
Brilliant. Let's talk about stablecoins for a moment. We had an interesting conversation just before we started recording here. Obviously, stablecoins are becoming very popular in USDT, USDC especially. Do you see regulators treating the stablecoins differently compared to traditional crypto assets like Bitcoin and so on?
For sure. MiCA has introduced very, very strict rules for stablecoins. Under this framework, e-money tokens, which are the stablecoins, are being treated as electronic money. Now, electronic money are subject to the same licensing requirements as normal fiat. And it is regulated now under both MiCA and PSD2.
Right, two different frameworks, right? The MiCA is for cryptocurrencies, PSD2 is for the traditional financial services. Yeah.
So now the EBA, the European Banking Authority, has come in and has told us that in order to be able to transact with stablecoins, any crypto asset service provider will need to hold as well a financial institution license. That obviously imposes a lot of regulatory burden on us. Payhound, for example, already has an EMI license. It got its EMI license last year. So we already have a head start on that as well. Payhound already counts with the infrastructure, the licensing knowledge, and the expertise to navigate this evolving regulatory turmoil we're living. Now, specifically for iGaming operators, this is not all bad, okay? As they ensure that settlement assets are used safe, are transparent, and are reliable.
Brilliant. So how does working with a licensed and regulated provider like Payhound reduce the risk for operators?
So it de-risks mostly everything. Because working with a regulated provider like Payhound significantly de-risks operations for iGaming companies, because it provides like a Bible of rules. Okay, that extends far beyond governance, liquidity, and AML. We have the regulatory scrutiny and trust. So regulators, banks, auditors all require clear understanding and oversight over your regulated crypto provider. As opposed to an unregulated service provider, they are not subject to any audits, to any checks, to nothing that can hold them accountable in the long run.
And what should iGaming companies know before they decide to add crypto as a payment method?
So I think mainly iGaming operators have to be very aware of what their regulator in their home state require to be able to accept crypto assets as a payment method. For example, here in Malta, the MGA has a whole framework about it, about what types of crypto assets they can accept, how to, even the crypto asset service provider has to first be approved by the MGA. So that is, I think, the place to start. What does your regulator want of you? Okay, then obviously, as we said before, you have your banking partners. Are your banking partners going to allow you to accept proceeds from crypto? Know your service providers. See what your service providers have to offer. See what the different technologies they use. See what cryptocurrencies they offer, if what they offer is in line with what your regulator in your home state is in line with.
Brilliant, Rude. And how can regulation help build trust in crypto rather than slow it down? It's also something interesting we talked about before, which is it's kind of like a really fine line for regulators to not over-regulate, but then also creating this regulatory framework which allows for innovation to take place and that allows for operators to actually be able to build their companies. So how can regulation help build that trust?
So I think Malta is a perfect example for this. Clear rules don't always have to slow you down, because they also build trust. In Malta, the VFA Act set the foundation. The MGA, in terms of gaming, created a clear gaming policy. And now, with MiCA, it's going to be harmonized across Europe. That regulatory clarity is what makes players trust crypto payments, and what makes operators comfortable adopting them. If you imagine crypto in an ecosystem where there's no regulation at all, it's like a Wild West rush.
Yeah, that's how it used to be.
It's a gold rush where anyone can set up a business, promise huge returns, vanish, then you have all these scandals and all these scams and all these. So I think regulation in this world is very, very important to set clear boundaries, to set clear limits, to give trust and confidence to those who want to accept crypto. Crypto had a very bad reputation when it started because of all these issues. Now more and more it's being accepted as a method of payment in even shops in some places in the world. So I think we've come a very long way, and I think mainly it has been thanks to this regulation.
Yeah.
Now, as I was telling you before, there's a very, very fine line between regulation and over-regulation. But I think as we start navigating, and the more we navigate this industry, it's going to, and I hope it will stabilize.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's. I remember back in the day, the ICO hype that really like drove the hype cycle at that time.
Exactly.
That all came crashing down. Even before that, there was like Bangkok scandals. There was complete Wild West, and a lot of resistance at that time from crypto believers, let's say, for regulation. But then I think it became pretty clear that at some point regulation needs to enter the space in order for there to be more legal clarity and so on, so that you can feel that safety knowing what you can and cannot do in the space. A last question for you here today, Julia. From your legal view, what makes Payhound a safer choice compared then to unregulated crypto solutions, for example?
So I think it all comes down to one word, which is accountability. We are a regulated entity with one of the top tier authorities in Europe. We are aligned with very robust AML frameworks. The AML framework, once the VFA Act appeared, it created a branch specifically for COSPs, which that is something that the rest of Europe still does not have. And we have a business model that has been approved by the MGA over and over and over again. So we are one of the MGA service providers, crypto service providers. So that means that our clients don't just get the technology, but get a fully compliant, EU-ready solution that protects them and their players. Unregulated providers just cannot offer that at all.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Georgia. I think the crypto and gambling space and the legal aspect of it is absolutely heating up right now.
Yes.
It's such an interesting space to be part of. It's a really emerging space in general, and it's really interesting to hear the thoughts from a leader like Payhound that's been there from the beginning, to hear where all the things are heading at the moment and what we can expect in the future. So I really appreciate you giving your insights today, Georgia. Thanks so much for coming by the studio. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.